Hi Muses! I have been writing notes and I'm in the flow. Yesterday was a really ebb day, very internal, lots of just like frustrated groaning because I had a little toddler at home who was very distracted and needed my attention, blah, blah, blah. Same story. And I know this and I practice this, and yet it's always hard to, when you're frustrated and you want to get started and you're yearning and wishing and dreaming for like that connection to like do the work that you want to do, that creative stuff, the stuff that is just for you. And it's so simple to just go, just start. I had to write notes. I wanted to write notes for my training I'm going to be doing inside Muse Mojo, my membership, which is my village and library for all the resources that I create on living a creative life of joyful purpose. And I had to bring myself to a coffee shop today and just be like, sit my ass down, Brenda, and just start writing. And then I'm just like, why is it so hard to just start? It's so simple. Anything that's simple doesn't mean that it's easy. And at the same time, though, I think we make it hard. And I just wanted to talk today with you about why that is, the simple mistakes that we make. And I say this to myself as well, that make it more complicated, or we like want to make it hard, or we forget. And so all these things, I really actually hope that you're like, oh, that's obvious, I already know this, Brenda. But then the question becomes, but are you doing it? Are you still allowing it to like stop you from just starting? Is it still something that you ignore or dismiss because it's too simple, and yet you're looking for the harder, more complicated answer? And so that's what I wanted to share today with you. And this is all because as well, I am launching Creativity Catalysts. It's a live immersion to cultivate your creative practice. That's all happening. Free trainings and stuff is happening inside my group, Mindful Muses. So you'll find it on the header of this page, or message me if you need to, or just look up Mindful Muses with Brenda Mangalore and you can get in. It's a free group and you can access to the trainings. I'll be talking about basics right now about what is creativity and what that means, and really how to kickstart and boost your creative practice in your daily everyday life, because you know that that connection to your creativity is how you can show up to be the kind of person that you want to be, someone who's fun and passionate, but on purpose, and productive and motivated and inspired and full of ideas all the time, and feeling like you are developing a meaningful life. And your creativity and that connection to your creativity also allows you to show up as the business owner that you are, or the coach that you are, or to work with your clients, or to work in your job, or whatever it is, to really bring the best of you. You know that you need that connection to your creativity. And so Creativity Catalyst was my workshop. It's an immersion, 25-day immersion that you can help cultivate your creative flow and connection in your daily life. I will talk more about that later. Let's get started. All right. I wrote down why. Why is just starting, just started. Because a lot of people come to me all the time who are like, oh, Brenda, I feel really inspired. I love your work. You know, I really wish I had more time to paint more, or to do this creative thing. Or when I was younger, I had more time, or more energy, or more motivation, or more inspiration. And all I'm hearing is a lot of fear and a lot of excuses, to be honest. And I understand, because I have them too. And I have two kids who are young. I'm looking back, like only a year ago, I had a 1-year-old. I mean, she's 2 now, so that makes sense maths wise. But at the same time, it was like a lot of work, and my eldest just started school, and schedule's completely thrown out the window because it was a whole new schedule. And I don't know about you, but when you have a family and a life with young kids, schedules are like the only way to hold a structure in your day together, to hold your mind so that it doesn't go insane. And so new schedules really throws me, and seeing that and you know, feeling like I wish I had more time and more this. And here's the simple but hard truth about why just starting can feel impossible, even in its simplicity. And that is this need and search and craving and desire for perfection. Even if you don't feel like that's what you are, even if you're like, I'm not a perfectionist, I'm messy, I'm lazy all the time, I can't do anything properly, I suck, blah, 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 all the things that your inner critic is telling you. Perfection really is just another way of saying fear. And fear is really, really good at disguising herself as perfection, as procrastination, as I'm looking down at my notes, as like doubt or fogginess, and really all of it. This is why I just wanted to use that word perfection, right? It's just this need for perfection. When you're procrastinating, you're really waiting for the perfect time or the perfect energy, a perfect amount of motivation or the perfect amount of time, I've already said, or like the perfect timing, or you're waiting for the perfect tools or the perfect motivation and having all the elements in place and having to do it in perfect order. And the reason you want all these things is because of fear of failure, fear of success, fear of whatever your baggage or triggers or whatever it is. And somehow this waiting for perfection would allow you to not meet this fear. And so all of this, right, this is very simple training. I do a lot more, and I will be doing a lot more inside Mindful Muses, my free group. So definitely just join to get all that stuff, because I can't share everything here. And talking about fear is a lifetime practice, okay? So I don't want to be like, oh, that's it. You just need to know this one thing, which is another way that fear tries to trick you by stimulating your need for perfection by going, oh, if I can just find that one perfect thing and understanding of fear, and then I will be cured forever. I will get into all of that, the 3 mistakes. And so all of this avoiding and all of this fear, a lot of it just comes down to, and this is again so simple, something that might feel obvious, and yet we still fall for it because it's scary, and well, humans, and we're flawed, and fear is scary. That's why it's fear, right? And it's the 3 things that I found, and obviously there's like nuances and different ways of looking at it, but it comes down to really just feeling, first of all, not worthy. That you have this feeling that somehow you are not good enough, that you're not expert enough, you're not wise enough, you're not beautiful enough, you're just not worthy. And this sense of worthiness is where all the personal development and the spirituality and all the, you know, self-help industries and everything is all coming down to working on finding what is telling you, what the stories are, what the baggage is, what the triggers are, which I'm going to go into a lot more inside Muse Mojo, my membership, you know, like what is the excuse really, and it all comes down to this feeling of being not worthy. And so you do things to either prove to yourself that you're not worthy, or you do things because you're worried that it's going to prove that you're not worthy, or you're going to be found out, and all of that kind of stuff. And part of that not worthiness as well is this fear about not being enough, not being good enough, being wise enough, all that stuff that I said, and just basically just not being enough, not having enough support, not having the right tools, not having the right calling. It's not your purpose enough. It doesn't have enough meaning. It doesn't have enough purpose or joy or fun, or it's going to take away your freedom, or it's going to, all this sense of lack, this kind of scarcity mindset. And that's really what it comes from. And then the third part that you're really avoiding in terms of fear is this sense of not being trustworthy enough, and that you're not trusting. And it requires a lot of trust and faith, right? You feel this urge, you want to do this thing, and it's hard to just start because you're like, what happens if something throws you out of the way? What happens if, you know, you just don't feel like it, and then it's going to take away your freedom, and then you're going to be found out, and then people are going to laugh at you, and then you're going to fall on your face, and you're going to be embarrassed, and then you won't be capable. You don't trust that you're going to be capable enough to be able to pick yourself back up, that you're going to be able to handle it, that you're going to be able to trust that God is looking after you, and that you actually are really blessed and lucky, and that you are swimming in abundance, and there's no trust there. So a lot of the work about why just starting feels really hard, and the work, the mindset work, the journaling work, the connecting to soul and spirit work, the, you know, surround yourself with the right energy and mentors and community so that you can feed yourself in a positive way. that work is about connecting to the seed in the heart of why it is that you're not feeling worthy enough, or is it a sense of not feeling enough, or this sense of lack of trust, and then you can work from there. And this is where, like, this is why I offer mentoring, this is why I have my Muse Mojo membership, because I want to offer resources in that way, which is in a more focused way, because I can't do it all here on this live stream. But I really hope that just understanding these three things and having and keeping an eye for it can really open your eyes to seeing how fear is really good at disguising herself in all these other ways of distractions and waiting for perfection, or really reasonable reasons and logical reasons why you can't start. But if you can dig deep and look for one of these three, you'll find it's probably some story, a combination, or one of these three in there, like in the really heart of it. And if you can find that and dig it out, that and break it down and replace it with something more positive, something that serves you better, something that is actually more true, and or what you want it to be true. Because a lot of the time the stories are stories and you get to choose what story you want to tell yourself. And so if you can do that, that will be, you're on your way to start being able to start doing the thing. So part of that, digging in and digging deep, is part of the three mistakes. I want to talk about the three mistakes that we make about not just starting. And part of that is 3 ways then you can really get started and work on that. And the first one is this, you want to fight. A lot of it's fear and feeling like you're, procrastinating, all of that stuff. A lot of the talk and a lot of the trainings around is about fighting it, about battling it, about, kicking your ass into gear, about berating yourself and using your willpower and somehow, motivating yourself there. And my saying is, what I believe is that battle is not sustainable. And you probably found this already. Like you can do it in little bursts, and then it just kind of stops halfway, and it becomes more evidence about why you can't start, because you remember all those times before when you did start and then you couldn't continue on and you couldn't follow through. And even though it's a whole bunch of stuff, this is why I go into a lot more about this in terms of resistance that comes up. And I call resistance this energy force that comes back whenever you try something new, whenever you start a new up-level growth, expansion of your dreams, of going after what it is that you want, starting a new skill, doing anything creative, learning anything that kind of upgrades your life, your perspective, and yourself. Resistance is that energy that comes back, and a lot of that comes from fear. And I always say to embrace resistance. The mistake that you make is to try and battle it and to fight it and to try and push it down. And the mistake is that fear, that resistance, it's actually you. And so you're actually fighting yourself, and you're spending so much energy doing that, and your resistance actually encourages it, because then you're using all that energy trying to fight it and battle it and push it down and trying to summer up all your willpower, which is a very finite source of energy, and you don't have that all the time. And that's actually a thing, like a fact. You can't always have willpower through it. This is why we have habits. This is why we have beliefs. This is why we have stories that we can tell ourselves. So that you can sustain the actions. But if you can embrace resistance, then you're realizing that you're embracing yourself. You're no longer wasting a lot of creative energy fighting yourself. And that embracing of yourself allows you to then do that work of digging deep, of facing face to face, what is the fear that's holding me back? What is the fear that is overwhelming me, or making me crave perfection, or making me desire this need for clarity or confidence? Because we know that clarity and confidence will only come after you've taken action. And so what is the fear? And doing that work of digging in deep and investigating, that's the first thing you need to do. Or that's one of the things that you can do to help you get started. I'm just remembering I need to share this to the group before I forget, because that's what you need to do with Facebook. But let me know in the comments below, even if you're watching the replay of this, always comment below, #YayReplay, yay replay, because I'm the same. I'm always watching replays because I just can't settle down until at night when the kids are asleep, and then I can really dedicate my attention to these kind of trainings. But I know there's going to be good stuff in here. So for now, for that first one, comment below, what is the thing that's holding you back? What's the fear that's come up straight away that you might be like really quick to dismiss and be like, oh, that's so boring. Oh no, I totally fixed that already. What is the fear that comes up about why you can't start? And then whether or not you've tried just battling resistance, and what comes up for you when I talk about embracing that. while I share this into a group. Mindful Muses. And one more. I probably should have done this before, but I always get too excited when I've got like, the message needs to come through. I just need to get it out before I forget it. Well, before it kind of morphs into something else, to be honest. All right. Done. Okay. So the first one is the mistake that we make is battling or trying to fight that fear or that resistance, or trying to like use motivation or to use your willpower somehow, and thinking that if you could just discipline your ass and just fight through it, to ignore or to numb or to basically like squash it down and suppress it, and then just like push yourself through. And you know that that's not sustainable, and you end up using that because it's not sustainable as proof why you can't start, which is what resistance wants, which is what fear wants it to do. It's trying to keep you stuck and not starting. And even if you do start a little, it will use what it can to stop you. And so this idea about it's not being sustainable and stuff, it leads me to my second mistake that we make. That we think that if we could, it's this one-time thing, and that if you could find this one magic solution, or that you could find this one secret to why you have this fear, and if you fix this fear and if you could deal with it, and therefore you will now forever never have to face resistance, never have to face all these fears that comes up, and you can just start, you can always get flowing, you're always inspired. You know, you look at Brenda and she's always flowing, she's always making stuff, and you know, it's just this continuous flow, which is a bunch of shit. And that's not the case. And it's because of this second mistake, where you think that it's just this one-time thing, or that if there's somehow, if you can, you know, get over this one flaw of yours because you're not worthy, right? Or you're not good enough. Or if you could just get over this one hang-up or trigger or old story or old belief that you have, and then you can, you know, finally be on your way and you can be done with that. Because the second thing is to realize is that it's an ongoing practice. It is daily, consistent work that you do, even in tiny, insignificant steps, as I like to say, that it's an ongoing thing, because fear and resistance that comes up is part of you. It is who you are, which is why I say to embrace yourself, because you can't fight yourself and you need to embrace it. And by embracing it, sometimes the way to see it is to see resistance not as the enemy, but as a gift. And it's giving you this gift of seeing where the things that you need to pay attention to, where you might be going against your own values, or whatever old stories that are not going to serve you in the next level, it comes up. The triggers that come up, that one time that person that you loved told you that you really suck and you really shouldn't bother, or when you asked someone for some feedback on something that you made and they made a face. And, you know, all these old stories that you never really dealt with or really grieved over, or really kind of forgiven either yourself or them or the world or the universe or whatever it is that you need to get to, and you get to deal with. And this is an ongoing practice, because fear and resistance is you and part of you. It is just as smart as you. And so for any new level that you grow to, you faced fear, you dealt with the baggage that came up, and you will then use that new learning and this new expansion and new growth that you've grown into, and you will take it with you, and then you will try and use it against you again. And then you get to practice again, facing it, digging deeper, finding what else that you need to work through, what other values and boundaries that you need to reaffirm or to let go of, you know, what other stories that come up, or old habits and ways of thinking that came up that you need to deal with. This is why I'm always a fan of working with a mentor or with a coach, because they can help see the same repeating patterns that you might not see because you're in the mess. This is why I'm a big fan of having a community, and why I created Mindful Muses. I wanted a community, not just for me to like share my stuff and my thinking and all these conversations that I want to have about living a creative life and all the stuff that comes up with that, but because when you connect to that community, it allows you to remember and to see that it's an ongoing practice. It's daily, consistent action. And that action doesn't have to be perfect action, because we embrace resistance and we embrace the imperfection. And so the second mistake we make is thinking that it's this one-time thing, that it's only about just starting, because like I said, a lot of the time this resistance and the fear that comes up doesn't just come up when you just start a project. It usually comes up in the middle of the project as well, and you'll come up near the end when you're almost going to finish and then you can't follow through and just like finish strong. And so I will talk more about that inside Mindful Muses in terms of the creative and creation process. But for now, just know, first one is that the mistake is that you try and battle and to fight through it, and it's not sustainable to try and battle and fight through resistance. That noise is the dishwasher. Sorry. Yeah. And so the second one is to think, the mistake that we think that it's a one-time thing. And the way to combat that is to recognize that you need to embrace imperfection, and that it's a daily, ongoing practice of taking consistent, imperfect action if that's what it needs to be, because in the end we are always an ongoing work in progress. I had this realization the other day about like how I'm always a work in progress, and my paintings feel like they're constantly a work in progress because they're never quite done. But I know when my job and my work on it is done and I have to release it out into the world, it's a whole thing. Anyway, so the third mistake, before I forget and I get completely distracted, the third mistake that we make is this all or nothing mentality. It's this idea of, oh, if I can't, this perfection thing, where if I can't spend all this time and this whole weekend on it, then there's no point. Or I'm really distracted right now, I need to put all my energy and everything on it for the next 3-4 hours, only then can I get it done. Or I don't have all the tools available, not all the elements are in place, I can't get started. And so this all or nothing approach, same with like resistance when it comes up against you. And so you're like, okay, now I got to dig deep and dig through every single fear that comes up that I know about and spend a good chunk of my time on that before I can get started. And this all or nothing kind of mentality stops you from getting started. And it's a mistake because, again, it's a daily ongoing practice. You're never quite done. You can only just start today as you are, in all its imperfections, with whatever you have available, and trust that you will get more clarity as you go along only after you take action, that you will develop the confidence only after you stepped out courageously in faith and trust. And that this idea of being worthy and that you are good enough and that you are capable and that you can trust yourself, that can be something that you choose. That can be a story that you can be, even if it's new and it feels really awkward and cringy to try and tell yourself, it can be a belief and a story that you can choose to tell yourself now, and you keep repeating it and telling yourself until you feel it in your bones. Because I can tell you, yes, you are worthy, that you're being given this desire and this nudge to create this thing for a reason, that God put it in your heart for a reason, and that you are supposed to start now. He wouldn't have told you now unless you are supposed to start now, and that you might have to start imperfectly. Wow, there's so many different ways. Imperfectly, and that he will give you the tools as you need it, and he'll give you the instructions for the next steps as you approach it. He's not going to help you see sometimes the whole entire picture, because that's his job, and your job is to take the step that's in front of you, and that requires a lot of faith and trust. And I can tell you that you are worthy of it, because you wouldn't be given this dream unless it's you that needs to bring it to life, and that the teachers and the mentors and the community and the people that you need to help you with it will come as they are needed. I can tell you all of this, but you might not still believe it or trust it or feel it in your bones. And I'm saying then you can choose to change that story for yourself or not. And it's a choice. And it might feel like it's delusional, but in the end, if you can bring it to life, what does it matter? Like, you're already sitting in either the dream or feeling frustrated and restless and feeling like you're missing and empty from this meaning that you are desiring in your heart, or that you've wanted this and you've been saying it, and you're reaching a point where you're like almost disrespecting yourself because you're not living in integrity with who you say you want to be. You're already living in that now. And so you can actually choose to continue down that path, or you can choose a new story and tell yourself that you are worthy, that you are capable, that you are enough, and that the things that you need, the confidence, the clarity, the tools, the people, the resources, the energy, the perfect amount of time, it will come as you need it, but you can actually start now imperfectly as you are with whatever you have. And so this all or nothing thing is because that's the mistake that we make. And the combat that is this idea of the dance. I like to talk about this dance, right? It's understanding, being able to understand the tension, or to know yourself well. This is part of doing the work. This is part of the mindset work, journaling work, getting to know yourself better. This is part of personal development and spiritual growth and emotional intelligence. That comes down to knowing when it is that you need to discipline your ass and you're just being lazy, and that resistance and fear, or even yourself, is just giving you excuses about not being good enough, that you're too tired, you have too many things on, you're distracting yourself with this new dream that you have, whatever it is, and that you just need to discipline your ass and sit your ass down and just get started, no matter how imperfectly, even if it's only for 5-10 minutes, even if it's only in simple steps, and it's still going to be 1,000 more steps before you get there. You just need to sit your ass down, and that's the discipline part. But how do you know whether it's actually discipline or versus the discernment to know that it's your intuition, it is your calling, it is God telling you, it is the muse, it is whatever life telling you to pause in discernment and to wait for the next instruction. That you actually need to pause because you need to rest and you need to clear out some stuff before you can get started, whether it's emotional junk or physical junk, or you need to pause because the right person, the right tool, the right invitation, or the right resource that you need is going to be provided. You just need to practice patience. Knowing the difference is part of self-awareness and discernment, and really seeking the true, honest prompting, like call from your heart. And you know this, you know it because deep down you know when you're just being lazy, or when you're actually not feeling it, like truly not, like it's not correct, and your gut is saying no, you need to wait. And so this dance, I like to call it, it's a balance. And I think of balance not as in just keeping things even like this, like on a scale, but actually balance the way we walk. And so when we walk, we're not just standing still. We want to keep moving forward. That's why we want to start this thing, right? You want to start this creative thing. You want to start painting. You want to start making more. You want to start using your creative voice to sing more, whatever it is, to really connect to your creativity and to your muse, to allow that expression to come through you. You actually want to start moving forward. We don't want to get stuck there. So we're not standing still. And so when it comes to walking and moving forward, you need to put all your weight and attention and focus onto one foot, right? That's how you start walking. You put it all on one foot and concentrate, make sure you don't fall over. But if you stay there too long, you're going to fall over. And so that means you have to shift to the other foot. This is the idea of balance, work and play and purpose, chaos and structure. Is this idea of doing this dance, of this idea of balance, where yes, you need to, sometimes you got to focus all your attention and energy and focus on this one foot, on this one area. But if you stay there too long, you're going to fall over. And so then you need to shift to the next one, to the next area, next foot, next focus, next energetic thing that's calling you, whether it is play or purpose or passion or duties or laundry or art, right? Trying to discern when you need to shift. That is part of learning. You're going to learn that through probably falling on your butt, just like any kid, any toddler. I look at her, she's walking so confidently now, but I remember just like a year ago when she was just finding her feet and she had to work it out. And she didn't tell herself, oh, I will never walk again because I fell on my ass this one time. She had to practice. She had to adjust and feel for it and learn, where her center of gravity was. And that if she wanted to move forward in this way, she had to move her feet in this way, and how long to stay on one foot before you have to shift to the next foot. And she had to practice it. This is where you embrace your resistance. You understand that it's an ongoing practice, and that if you can take daily, even if it's imperfectly, but daily consistent action, even if they are literally baby steps, and that it is not an all or nothing thing, and that it is a practice of discerning between when it is that you need to just discipline your ass, or when it is that you need to really pause. It's a divine, call to pause and to wait and to listen, and to, like, sometimes listening isn't just listening to your intuition or to God or to the muse, but like listening to your body and knowing when it is that you need to shift, and understanding this dance. That's the work that you need to do. And if you can practice all these three things, not if you just accomplish them and cross them off your list and therefore you'll be perfect from now on, because we just learned that perfection is just fear's way of disguising itself to keep you stuck and never starting. And knowing that the getting started, even if you finally do get started, fear and resistance will show up again, and you will have to practice again, and you'll have to use that discernment and understanding and balancing that dance between the two areas of pausing or going all in. And a combination of the two, you will hit that when you're in the middle of the project, when you're about to finish a project, or when you're moving on to the next thing. And it's just a continuous practice. And if you can understand that, then you know that it is just as simple as just starting, but it is just as hard depending on what stories you're telling yourself, whether or not you're facing your fears and your resistance, and whether or not you're actually understanding that it's an ongoing practice, and that your job is to be able to discern between when you need to discipline yourself or when you need to allow yourself to pause and to wait for the next instruction to come. That is it for me today. If you don't know me, I'm Brenda Mangalore. Thank you for being here and for your attention. You can connect with me further inside my Mindful Muses Facebook group, where we have more conversations like this and free training. And this month's training is going to be a lot about creativity and really how to get started weaving all this. Thank you for all the love hearts. Thank you. It really makes my day. And yeah, how to get started, how to really get that creative boost going, but really how to cultivate your creative practice even amongst the busyness of your life with simple daily prompts. It's going to be a 25-day immersion. It's called Creativity Catalyst. There's a live round coming 17th of February, so in a couple of weeks. So definitely get your ass in there. That reminds me, I need to post it. It will be in the comments below. Let me see how you do that. You'll find it in the comments below. You can find more information to check it out. The first 5 people will get $100 off. There's an early bird special for Creativity Catalyst live round. Everything's going to be upgraded. There's going to be a live, upgraded 4 live trainings in there, upgraded the worksheets and everything in there. And I'm not sure whether I'll be doing a live round again sometime this year, maybe halfway through the year. So this is the time. If this year was the year that you keep saying to yourself, I'm going to connect to my creativity, I am going to get that creative flow going, I'm going to allow myself that me time, to allow myself expression that comes through, and yet I don't want to give up my time and my busy schedule with my clients and my children, or with my work, or with the house and connecting with friends and all those things. I am saying that creativity can be a total part of your life. It's a lifestyle. It is not a one-time workshop, one-time event. It is part of your life, and you can weave it through part of your life. And having a busy schedule is actually perfect, because then you need to practice and use your creative energy and creativity to come up with ways with how you're going to connect to your creative practice amongst all that busyness. And so that's what that 25-day immersion is all about. It was really random. Like, I prefer my days, like set 7, like every week, right? But this workshop was specific about how I needed to be 25 days. And there's like integration days. At the end, there'll be 5 days of prompts, and then you have 1 day of integration and all of that. And so it's got all of that in there. And we've got starting welcome stuff. There's pre-work, which is what I'll be doing the training inside my Mindful Muses. I'll put the link in below as well. It'll be in the pinned comment if you can't see it. And join me. Let's see if I can link it. For the free trainings. So the first free training is going to be what is creativity. Let's get back to the basics of that. And if you can see, I love that training, because if you can see that you're already using your creativity in everyday life as it is, and now it's just this chance for you to be mindful about how you're using it instead of using it to come up with excuses about why you're not creative, it's going to help you so much more. Even if you don't join me inside Creativity Catalyst, it's going to help you boost your creative expression, your creative connection, your connection to your muse so much more in your everyday life. Although I would love for you to join me inside Creativity Catalyst. It's a great immersion. It's a great way to change your mindset and to work on these practices that I've just been talking about today, about how you have to embrace resistance and how to have it as an ongoing daily practice, and to take those little daily consistent steps, even if it's imperfect, and that you can discern the difference between this dance and what balance looks like for you, because there is no secret to it, but there is your recipe, your flavor, your secret to it, and that changes with you as well. And being able to be flexible with that and still work within a structure. So inside this Creativity Catalyst thing, it's got a nice system and a structure for you to follow, because I know sometimes when you're still stuck in overwhelm and you've been out of practice for a long time, because creativity is a habit, not a skill. And when you've, just like any habit, when you've been out of the habit for a long time, it can be really overwhelming to start. And so it provides this structure that you can follow. If you're feeling like completely overwhelmed, you just want to follow instructions, because I get that sometimes life is just so much, you just want to be able to follow instructions. But it's also way that works for you. That's the whole point of being immersed in your creativity. Instead of going to this one-off workshop that you could do for a weekend to paint or whatever it is, you can spend that 25 days, really develop that as a habit, because that's the whole point, and weave it and see it and give yourself proof that even if life is busy, even if life throws you curveballs along the way and it's a shitstorm coming and you don't even know where to begin, you are capable of finding your way through, because you remember that it's an ongoing daily practice, that you're going to embrace the resistance and therefore also embrace the imperfections with the actions that you can take, and that you will find your dance with the muse as you cultivate that creative practice. You feel me? I will see you guys inside Mindful Muses in my group. And I will leave you with that. Let me know in the comments below what really resonated with you, what really was an aha, what was something new that you never thought of before, and what was something that you were like, oh, I've been hearing this and I've been trying to ignore it and it feels so boring. You've been dismissing it, but you know that it's not really even me telling you, it's your higher self telling you, and it's waiting for you to listen. I would love to know what that is for you. I love having that kind of conversation with you, and we can continue that conversation inside Mindful Muses as well. So let me know, and I will hopefully see you inside Creativity Catalyst. The link is below, pin comment, all that stuff. I will see you guys next time. Bye.